Win over India, South Korea edging out the dangerous Bahrain. But this is the one that really matters, with qualification a certainty for whoever wins. Well, the Asian Cup really starts here for Australia and South Korea. India and Bahrain, mere entrees. This is the main dish. And with all the talent on show today, this could be a real feast of football between two teams ranked 1 and 3 in Asia. Australia are unchanged, so the new look strike partnership between Harry Kewell and Tim Cahill continues. Sasha Ognanovsky's name has featured heavily in the build-up. He, of course, plays in Korea with Songnam, and the Koreans have hinted they may try to exploit his perceived lack of pace. The Koreans make one change due to the suspension of central defender Kwak Tae-hui. Hwang Jae-won gets the nod for just his 5th cap, but the Suwon stopper is an experienced campaigner on the regional stage, winning the Asian Champions League with Pohang in 2009 and being nominated for the Asian Player of the Year award the same year. A trophy, of course, won in 2010 by Sasha Ognanovsky. Plenty of talent on the subs bench as well for both lineups. Watch out for the number 11, Son Heung-min, for the Koreans. He plays in Germany with Bundesliga outfit Hamburg. Our referee today is a local man, Abdurrahman Mohammed, and his assistants are both Qatari as well, Hassan Al-Tawadi and Mohammed Darman. Every team, it seems these days, does the huddle. It's become de rigueur for international and club football alike. There's Holger Osik. If you are looking for omens, then Osik's Canadian side came through a group involving South Korea at the 2000 CONCACAF Gold Cup, when the Taeguk Warriors were invitees of the North American region, and the Canucks went on to win that particular competition. And Cho Kwang-rae has had plenty to say in the build-up, pinpointing, as we say, Sasha Ognanovsky as the Socceroos' weak link. His task is to deliver the country's first Asian Cup in 51 years. Now, before we start, we're going to have a minute's silence for the victims of the recent floods that have so devastated Queensland. Our thoughts are with all of those affected back in Australia. The moment's silence impeccably observed. The Al Gharafa Stadium around about half full, and all full of eager anticipation ahead of this particular clash. Australia against South Korea, Group C of the Asian Cup. Well, 4 years ago, Australia stumbled against Japan in the heat of Hanoi. Today, we'll find out just how much they've learned about Asia in their biggest competitive test since then. Andy Harper's alongside for the call. Andy, what are you expecting today? Well,
I think this is a huge test for both teams. Of course, India provided little resistance for the Socceroos. It was a good hit out for the green and gold. And we'll see exactly how good a hit out it was against one of the raging hot favourites for this competition. Indeed, the marker South Korea as dominant as they were against Bahrain. We'll get to see exactly what sort of reflection that is as to their progress with this match against Australia. It's a huge clash, huge significance to both countries.
This is Lee Chung-yong. Plays in the English Premier League, of course, with Bolton Wanderers. 5 of the Korean squad based overseas. Tim Cahill. 2 goals in the first game against India. That's a new look partnership up front alongside Harry Kewell has so far impressed most pundits, it seems.
Yeah, I think it's a good combination, certainly potentially. It's sort of bizarre with 2 guys at this stage of their career haven't really played a lot in that part of the field. Had come to Asia Cup 2011 and they've both gravitated towards the centre of Australia's attack. It's got a lot of potential to it.
It's almost as if it was so obvious nobody had ever thought about it. Jason Kalina. Square ball for the captain, Lucas Neal. Who continues the run. Now he's out of position, but Brett Emerton just drops in and tidies up. Here's Sasha Ognanovsky, subject of much talk during the week, Andy. Knowing big Sasha and his temperament, I don't think that will have worried him in the slightest. That might do, though. That's a very loose one for Miller Jedinak. And this is Park Ji-sung looking to attack Australia down the left. On the right is Lee Chung-yong. And Park will drive for goal, but he never really got hold of it.
He scuffed his shot badly, and the first attack in anger came care of a Miller Jedinak mistake. That's going to be a foul on cue by Ki Sung-yong. Nearly touched the ball for Mark Schwarzer. It's been otherwise a relatively sedate start from the Korean Republic. I was expecting them to come out with a little bit more fire and brimstone. To your point, the discussion pre-match, in fact during the week, about Sasha Ognanovsky from the Korean camp. Normally the players who you do think are going to be a weakness are the ones you don't say anything about. You keep that one quiet. This is obviously because of Korea, the stature of Ognanovsky in Korea. They're looking to maybe bring Sasha down a peg or two psychologically before kick-off. Don't think it'll work, but it's worth a try.
Australia have said they're going to try and attack down the flanks and get the crosses in for the likes of Cahill. Fuel to feed perhaps off the knockdowns. Here's the Central Korean striker Ji Dong-won. There's no doubt that the majority of the crowds are going to be behind the Koreans. Not too many Australians in Qatar to cheer on the green and gold. Tripped by Harry Kewell, but advantage played. This is Cha Do-ri, who leaves it now for Lee Chung-yong. Neal just getting in ahead of Koo Jae-chol, who of course scored twice in that 2-1 win over Bahrain on match day 1 for the Koreans, and a free kick for the Tiger Warriors.
A good early start from Lucas Neal. He's snuck in a couple of times and pinched the ball. It's going to be a key duel. On Australia's left side, David Carney. And a tussle there with Lee Chung-yong.
Could be an interesting battle, that one. Plenty said and written about Australia's left flank this week as well. David Carney having the finger pointed at him from various quarters. He's retained his place. Here's the free kick, and it's flipped on towards goal by Lee Jong-soo, the tall Korean defender.
He made good ground. And he rose above the pack. Did Lee Jong-soo, but couldn't control the header. No troubles for Mark Schwarzer.
Lee Jong-soo, the only man on the park today who's carrying a yellow card. Gets another one today. He will miss Korea's final group game against the Indians in a few days' time. India, of course, facing Bahrain a little bit later on today in Doha.
India coach Bobby Houghton is at the game today.
Yeah, we've just seen it. Interesting, that.
Yeah, leaving at half-time, we're reliably informed. I hope so. I think he's got some duties to perform. A bit of talent scouting. His next opponent.
This is Cahill. Emerton, but Kewell on his heels. Very solid challenge by Hwang Jae-won, eager to make an impression.
He started well, hasn't he? 2 or 3 very dominant headers and a couple of clattering challenges to assert his authority early.
There was a little push there on Harry Kewell. The linesman's flag was raised immediately.
Just pushed it a little bit too far then. It was a clear foul. Harry Kewell feeling for the contact and making the most of it.
Now, first chance perhaps, Andy, to test out the Korean defence. Timmy Cahill, of course, will always be a threat aerially. Luke Wilkshire to deliver. We've seen this many times in the past. Up it goes. Might drop for Kewell on his half volleyed it over the top, and I think he and Kale perhaps got a little in each other's way.
The partnership, the golden partnership, got their wires completely crossed. Delightful free kick from Luke Wiltshire, set up nicely. Timmy Kale, an inadvertent handball, completely accidental, probably put Kuhl off. Nervous little moment there for South Korea.
Australia making just their second appearance, of course, at the AFC Asian Cup. Quarter-finalists 4 years ago in Southeast Asia. South Korea, without silverware in this tournament since 1960. I'll still have to reread that a few times to believe it.
Back-to-back titles, 1956 and 1960, and nothing since. You do have to shake your head.
Third place 4 years ago under Pimba Bake, of course, who then went on to coach Australia and actually qualified the Socceroos for this tournament. Lots of links between the two nations. Was hitting, of course, as another.
Jedinek hasn't found his range yet for Australia. There's that chance bubbling up for Kuhl. Difficult one to control. Wang, Jae-won rushing his clearance, and only to the effect of awarding Australia a throw-in, and they've got another opportunity now. Highly fashionable for throw-ins to be launched deep and long from this part of the field. Australia opting to go short, it seems.
Brent Emerton, who was probably close to the man of the match for Australia against India, and he's found room for the cross. Clearing header by Lee Jung-soo. Wiltshire cushioned down by Emerton. And Wiltshire with the left foot cross, and Kuhl leaps. In the air though by Lee Jung-soo, but Korea having difficulty clearing their lines here. Now they will. Holman wanted the foul. Olmanovsky intercepts. This is a good little spell here for Australia, but Carney's lost out. Now he's got to scramble back into position. Another great delivery from the flanks.
Well, some good pressure for Australia early. Korea Republic pinned in their own territory and haven't been nearly as efficient getting out of that part of the field as they were against Bahrain. Geez, they were lively. Game one, far more subdued. Game two, take that as a huge mark of respect for their opponents. Good decision from the referee. Lucas Neal standing his ground. Ji Dong-won trying to rough up the Australian skipper. Impressive customer, the number 10 for Korea. He's only 19 years of age. His game against Bahrain was more befitting of a seasoned professional at this level.
13 goals in all competitions for his club side Chunam Dragons last season, and a goal in his international debut as well in the 2-1 friendly win over Syria at the back end of last year. Of course, they're without Park Chu-young, their normal leader of the line, the Monaco striker who's out with injury. This is Harry Kuhl. Clearance by Hwang Jae-won. And now Chadu Ree, the flying right wing-back from Glasgow Celtic. Marauding forward, he's made good grounds. Park Ji-sung of Manchester United. Infield to Ki Sung-young, another Glasgow Celtic player. Keep ball by the South Koreans. Park Ji-sung, they're very technically adept, the Tiger Warriors, we know that. Chadu Ree's combination down that right flank, Andy, with Lee Chung-yong, no doubts have been something that Holger Osik will have perhaps pinpointed at training this week.
Well, Australia's formation without the ball, dropping into their own half, very compact.
win it through Holman, but Jason Kalina's touch less than sure. Here's that man Chadu-Ri. Here's the Bahrainis. Lots of problems down that right flank on match day 1. Carney holds him up. Time to measure the cross though. For Lee Chung-yong. Wilkshire picking out Kuehl. Earns a throw-in. Harry Kuehl's 49th cap for Australia tonight. International now for some 15 years. 1996 he made his debut as a then 17-year-old. Arguably still as vital as he ever was. Going long, and Cahill hairs after it, but Jung Song Ryong plays for the Asian Champions League winners. Songnam was out smartly. Chadu-Ri goes long for South Korea. Neil steers it back to Schwartz.
So a comfortable start from Ognenovski and Lucas Neal in the centre of defence. It's still only their 3rd game at international level. Ognenovski making his debut just before the tournament against Cairo in December, in fact.
Kuehl. 2 defenders around him. So Kuehl has muscled his way through. Still he goes. Harry Kuehl. Support from Emerton. Curling cross. Cahill's there. Well worth a push in the back there. That's what Cahill and Australia are claiming. Referee having none of it. Interesting. Just as he was about to pull the trigger there, Tim Cahill, it did appear as though there was a nudge in the back. Meantime, South Korea continue. And, that's a great interception from Neil.
Well, that's a hugely contentious moment. It's a clear foul. Chadu-Ri, I've got no doubt, was in his mind attempting to get the ball, but he's just clattered into the back of Tim Cahill, whose supplications fall on deaf ears. A lucky moment for South Korea.
The aerial threat of Timmy Cahill. That'll have been something Cho Kwang-rae will have worked upon this week as well. Gonna have to watch him again here. It is Cahill who wins the header. Wilkshire back into the danger zone. Clearance only as far as Kalina. Emerton showing, but Wilkshire turning and delivering with the left foot. Harry Kuehl was coming back from an offside position. Free kick. Well, did they get that moment wrong a few minutes ago? There's no doubt they got that one right. The 24th meeting between Australia and South Korea at international level today. A series that has produced 9 wins for Australia as we look again at Chadu-Ri's alleged push on Tim Cahill. 9 Australian wins, 6 draws and 8 Korean victories. Couldn't be much closer. They haven't met in a competitive game since back in 1977, a World Cup qualifier. In fact, they met twice that year. Leg in Korea finished goalless. The match in Australia finished in a 2-1 win for the Socceroos. John Kosmina on target twice, as he often was, Andy.
Indeed, had a terrific career with the national team. John Kosmina was in the dugout 4 years ago as assistant coach for the Socceroos.
Park Ji-sung. A little ripple of excitement from the Korean supporters, and the referee judges that that's a foul by Miller Jedinak.
Park Ji-sung just finding a rare moment of speed. It looked to me as though he ran into Jedinak there. It's a little bit of a gimme for the Korean Republic.
Mark Schwarzer organising the wall. Looks as though Ki Sung-young will be the man to deliver. Here's Ki Sung-young, and he got it around the wall, but not around Lucas Neal. Well positioned, the Australian captain.
And he was on retreat to that near post, wasn't he? The defence was organised, and Lucas Neal composed as ever. As cool as you get in these situations, Lucas Neal.
Same player will deliver the corner. Emerton got there first. Park Ji-sung goes down on the edge of the box, and then it's lashed towards goal by Ji Dong-won. Still Korea threatened, and now the whistle is blown.
They scramble to clear Australia. Ball bobbling around. Jason Kalina in a contest with Park Ji-sung. Tell you what, the referee wouldn't have been completely wrong if he'd awarded a spot for that.
So there's Ki Sung-young, who actually spent part of his childhood in Australia. Educated in Brisbane, where he was known as David, which I presume is the anglicised version of Ki. Now Lee Young-pyo, the veteran Korean fullback, trying to find the space for the cross. He'll settle for the corner though.
Well, the Socceroos defending well. It's a very well organised outfit so far. The question of Korea at the moment is when they go to speed things up a little bit. It seems as though they're easing their way into the game, and Australia dealing with things very efficiently at this point.
Ki Sung-young's corner. Nodded back for the centre half, Hwang Jae-won, and again Lucas Neal in the right spot at the right time. And now the counter is on for the Socceroos through Jason Kalina. Needs some help. It arrives in the shape of Emerton, but too many red jerseys. Ki Sung-young has stayed down on the turf, and Cho Kwang-rae has come to the edge of the technical zone and told his players to kick the ball out of play.
That's quite a heavy collision. Jason Kalina trying to get to the ball. Brett Emerton putting his shoulder to the wheel. Here's that chance from Hwang. He snatched at his shot. Timmy Cahill taking no chances. Came off his knee more than anything else from the central defender, probably why he plays at the other end of the field. Ki Sung-young to get some treatment. We're referring to those flood-ravaged parts of southeast Queensland. You can only assume that Mr. Key, after spending 4 years in Brisbane, has his own network of family and friends in that part of the world, and I'm sure he's wishing to send his best.
Reed into the channel, lovely turn by Koo Jae-chol. Lee Young-pyo just had to check. There's the 33-year-old now playing in this part of the world with Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia after a glittering career, really. Took in spells at PSV Eindhoven and Tottenham and Borussia Dortmund. It's good foraging by Brett Holman. Emerton, break on here for Australia. Kuehl takes it away from Chadu-Ree, and he was felled in the process. Chadu-Ree doesn't agree, but it's a free kick for Australia, and maybe a yellow card too for the Korean fullback.
Well, it was a terrific counter-attack, swift as you like, from Australia. And the key man in that move was Brett Holman. It was a sensational piece of anticipation in midfield. Look at him go, harrowing, working hard, determined to win the ball, which he successfully does, and then instinctively releases Brett Emerton. Emerton looking for Harry Kewell. Chowdhury can't get goal side of Kewell as he tries to play the ball. Makes contact with the Australian striker, hence the free kick, hence the yellow card.
And a free kick in a really good position here. Kewell, Jedinak and Carney debating matters. Jung Sung Ryong pacing the goal line. The wall set. It's the angle that would probably suit the right footer. David Carney's walked away. Could be Miller Jedinak to hit this. It is Jedinak, and the wall stands firm. Out to Wiltshire though, who drives it back towards Jung Sung Ryong. Takes it in the midriff.
Well, good work from the defensive wall, and then some comfortable goalkeeping. Goalkeepers really enjoy just a good solid claim like that in a pressurised situation. Jung Sung Ryong, fresh out of the 2010 World Cup, of course.
Huge clearance, and Ji Dong-won tees it up. This is a real chance for South Korea. They've scored! Koo Jae-chol, who scored 2 in the first game against Bahrain, repeats the dose against Australia. Well, a classic Group 1 goal, really. But Koo Jae-chol is in rare form at the moment. And Australia have been punished for a moment of defensive slackness.
Well, they've been so compact, Australia in defence. It's the 2 of the young guns for the Korean Republic who unite in the penalty area. It's as rudimentary as football can get. There's the offside claim, which wasn't valid. Expert work from the 19-year-old. He flicks it off to the 21-year-old and the 2 juniors with huge futures. Ji Dong-won, number 10, off to Koo Jae-chol for his 3rd goal of the tournament, and a crucial one at that. Well, Lucas Neal, up until this point, had the better of the exchanges. But it only takes a moment for good footballers to wriggle clear. Koo Jae-chol had moved into the penalty area in so much space.
Here they come again, the South Koreans. They've dragged that one wide in the shape of Lee Chung-yong. He is turning into a real find, isn't he? Koo Jae-chol for Cho Kwang-rae. Plays a bit deeper in the K-League for his club side Jeju United, where he actually laid on 19 assists in the domestic competition last year. And he scored a couple of goals at the Asian Games in Guangzhou at the back end of last year. That prompted the national coach to push him forward a bit further. Kewell, surrounded by Korean defenders. It's a big test now for Australia. Not a good ball by Neal.
A wayward pass by the skipper. Well, it only took 2 Korean players from the long clearance from the keeper. There were enough Aussies around. None could get close enough to Koo Jae-chol.
Now Jedinak putting Ogmanovsky under pressure. Jedinak threads it through. Kewell, who's been very tightly marked. Lee Yong-rae slides it out wide right. South Korea starting to build up a bit of a head of steam here. Leading by a goal to 0. The majority of the crowd on their side too, the Daeguk Warriors. Lee Young-pyo steps inside one, little one too. Lee Young-pyo. Korea really starting to play here. Schwarzer makes the save from Ji Dong-won. And gee, Andy, Australia lucky they weren't two behind.
Well, they've got a head of steam up, the Daegup Warriors. They move from a marked position. This is the key at the moment. They're moving from a marked position into a free position, and the Australians not knowing whether to go or stay. And the pass is right on the mark. They're starting to get some fluency. The shot straight at Schwarzer, who beat the ball away and recovered at the second attempt.
Emerson's flick. Well, there are two men around Harry Kewell every time he gets a touch of the ball.
He's having a tough time of it, and he's obviously been targeted. Look at this beautiful work, the give and go. Australian defenders in the proximity, but that's the best you could have said.
Now Park Ji-sung outside of the boots. There's too much weight on that, but they're really posing a threat every time they come forward at the moment.
Australia need to spend the next few moments, if they can, just keeping the ball away from Korea. It's taking a little bit of a sting out of the game.
Yedinak out for Carney. Emerson. Neil. Left Luke Wiltshire a bit short there, and Wiltshire fairly clattered into Lee Young-pyo, and there's going to be a yellow card here. That's for Brett Emerson.
Well, Brett Emerson claiming that it was the coach of South Korea who'd earned him that yellow card with his very visible demonstration in the technical area. It was Luke Wiltshire who lit the fuse with a heavy piece of work.
Well, our caption is saying that Luke Wiltshire got the yellow card. I'm pretty sure it was Brett Emerson.
Yeah, there's no doubt it was Brett Emerson.
Lee Young-pyo's free kick. Neil obviously got a shout from Schwarzer. There we go. There's confirmation of the yellow card for the Blackburn Rover. Surely a foul on Wiltshire. Eventually the whistle goes. Hung up towards Cahill. Kewell gets a push in the back. Another free kick for Australia. They've had a few of these in this sort of territory.
Well, he's using his body expertly, Harry Kewell. Again, he was inviting the attention of Wang Jae-won, who's a big unit. Harry Kewell, again, just feeling for where that central defender was. And instead of looking to play the ball on first time, sensed there was an opportunity. Their centre field, it's a terrific position for a free kick. And the other thing that Kewell's achieved out of that is just heaping a little bit more pressure on the referee.
Now, can Australia make this one tell?
Kewell's lining up this time.
Everybody in the wall for South Korea. Teed up for Kewell. Oh, it wasn't too far away from Harry Kewell.
Hit it well.
Me, that was close.
Hit it really well. Keeper was never sure.
Harry Kewell already got through a fair amount of work, run nearly 3 kilometres. If you want more on those player statistics, visit the AFC official website. This is Cha Do-ri. Jung unable to stretch far enough. Break here for David Carney. He's run out of it by Lee Chung-yong. Given away by the Koreans. And Kuehl. Holman. Cahill. They'll build through David Carney. And they'll try and take on Charduri. Cuts inside. Had it clear by Lee Yong-kyo, only as far as Kalina. And then Wiltshire to Emerton. Korea, though, working very hard to close down the spaces. Yedinak hangs it up. Kuehl. For Cahill, but telepathy on that occasion. Not quite there between the new-look Australian front two. Australia shading possession. South Korea ahead on the score sheet. That's what matters. Koo Ja-chol's goal on 24 minutes. Ji Dong-won onside and in possession. Volkanovski slides across, only as far as Park Ji-sung, who chips it up towards his teammates Lee Chung-yong, but Schwarzer sticks out his long arms and claims. There's no doubt the South Koreans posing much more of a threat in the final third. Koo Ja-chol held up by Ognanovski. Goal kick.
Well, apart from this moment, which separates the teams, and one other promising attack from South Korea. Brilliant work, Ja-chol. Excellent, excellent midfield player getting forward. Third goal of the tournament. 2 attackers beat 5 or 6 defenders. And Lee Yong-kyo just with that 1-2 on the edge of the box about a minute or two later. Otherwise, Korea have been very conservative.
Yep, everybody quick to drop behind the ball whenever they concede possession. Only Ji Dong-won ahead of where the ball is at the moment. That's a late one. That's got to be a card for Ki Sung-young.
Well, how often do you see it happen? A player loses control with his touch and then in their desperation to try and fix things, compound the error with a late tackle.
Third yellow card of the game. So Holger Osik looks on. Another set piece for Australia, which doesn't get past the first man. Maybe he will this time. It's good defending by Park Ji-sung. Lee Yong-kyo up towards halfway, and Joseph Kalina not quite tall enough to direct the ball forwards rather than sideways. Here's the goal scorer. This Korean squad's full of plenty of emerging talents. In fact, more than half of Cho Kwang-rae's party is aged 24 or less. Bit of a contrast with Australia, whose average age, at least in the starting 11, Andy, is touching 30.
Yeah, it's pushing up there. Certainly pushing up there, but you wouldn't say that's the reason why there's the difference between the teams on the scoreboard here so far.
Lovely turn from Park Ji-sung. Australian It's embarrassed there for a moment. Lee Yong-kyo steers it in. It comes off David Carney, and Mark Schwarzer can only stand and watch as it drifts behind for a corner. More warning signs for the Socceroos. And what about that piece of work from Park Ji-sung?
A beautiful turn from Park Ji-sung, but then Australia not able to pass the ball out of their own area. Ji Dong-won with the header. It was going well wide. David Carney trying to get into a defensive position, inadvertently deflecting the ball.
Variation on the corner. Very neatly done by South Korea, but Carney alert to the danger. Lee Yong-kyo will set it up again. Park Ji-sung, down he goes on the edge of the D, but play on, says the referee, and Australia give away cheap ball again. Lee Chung-yong takes a deflection, and behind it goes for a goal kick.
And Australia's defence just creaking momentarily. It's clearly not a foul. Lucas Neal asks if it's not a foul, why isn't simulation, referee?
Shade under 7 minutes to go before the interval. Holman nips in, a mistake by the Korean defence. It breaks here for Harry Kewell. Chance to light it up. And he's dragged it wide. And he berates himself for missing that opportunity.
Well, he won't need being told. But again, it's Brett Holman, Australia's two best moments because of his pilfering work in midfield. Outstanding from Holman. And Harry Kewell will know that this needs to find the target. It's got to force a save at least. And so often for the Socceroos, he's done just that.
"14 goals for his country, Harry Kewell, but not on that occasion." Koo Ja-chol for South Korea. Now Cha Du-ri. Loose one. Emerton to Jedinak. Brett Emerton has been tightly watched as well. He was outstanding against India, Andy. Not had nearly as much room this evening. Wiltshire lets it go. Here's Corea with a chance. Oh, and he delayed too long. And Cha Du-ri got back in the nick of time.
Well, this is an Australian move that a lot of people supporting the green and gold will enjoy watching because it was on the front foot. It was an attack on the front foot. Luke Wiltshire reading the play brilliantly, and the crispness of the pass to Kewell, who's very intelligent dummy to Tim Cahill, should have been rewarded, but Cha Du-ri too sharp for Australia's golden marksman.
They've had two good chances in the space of a few minutes, Australia, and they have a corner. Fisted clear by Jung Sung-ryong. Emerton forced to go all the way back to Mark Schwarzer. But more promising moments for Australia.
Well, there's been large parts of the Australian performance which has been very good. A couple of moments of sloppiness in possession, which is taking the gloss off, and needless to say, of course, the goal they conceded, which always hurts. But they've forced Korea back. They haven't been able to dictate the pace in large measure, South Korea. And here's Mila Jedinak looking to steal now.
Lee Yong-kyo. Wiltshire gives it back to the Korean fullback, and they'll be keep it in play here. They will through Lee Chung-yong. Running at speed at the Australian defence. Park Ji-sung offering support. Ji Dong-won wanting the ball played early into the middle. South Korea prepared to be patient. Koo Ja-chol. Now Lee Chung-yong. Drifts away from a defender or two and gets the shot away, but never going to trouble Mark Schwarzer.
Well, look composed and balanced on that attack too. Very patient, South Korea. Lee Chung-yong just backing himself in the end. He opened up the angle nicely, didn't at all make the contact he wanted. They worked that, the two of them, nicely down the right-hand side, Lee Chung-yong and Koo Ja-chol. Australia untroubled for the most part.
Kalina had it nicked off his toe by Lee Sung-yong, and then a trip by Sasha Ognanovsky and a bit of afters too between the big Aussie defender and Lee Chung-yong. It's a yellow card for Ognanovsky. That draws rich applause from the Koreans in the crowd. They know him well, of course. And he was a little bit late on Lee Chung-yong.
Yeah, and it's a fair enough decision from the referee too. Ognanovsky of the dominoes falling theory. Jason Kalina had the ball stolen in the centre circle. Ognanovsky backed himself to try and win the ball, at least stop the attack. And there was a whole pile of space out there for a counter-attack.
Half-time approaching. Australia will not want to concede a second. It would be a long way back from that sort of scoreline. Checked forward by Lee Jung-soo. Cha-do-ri out-muscled by Holman, who's battled well for Australia. Wiltshire looking for the run of Emerton. And now Lee Young-kyo. Almost, but not quite. Turn by Koo Ja-chol. Lee Chung-yong. Cha-do-ri. A little give and go, and South Korea are away. Disappointing cross from South Korea's point of view.
It's going to be a goal kick. Pretty much immediately over the byline from Cha-do-ri. The goal again, as direct as you like. Ognanovsky trying to patrol Ji Dong-won, and he's a very, very clever player, as is the goal scorer. The two youngsters combining. Get the feeling Asia's going to be seeing a lot of those two over the next decade.
Australia, so often in the past accused of playing direct football, undone by the Route 1 goal. Now Wiltshire chips it in towards Cahill. Volleyed clear by Cha-do-ri. One back by Neil. Kyo. Just bounced off the top of his head and into the grateful arms of Jung Sung-ryong.
Yeah, he wasn't the favourite to win that one. He almost made something out of nothing. I think it's been a good half from Harry Kyo. Have found him very difficult. Hwang and Lee to mark him. I'd suggest he's won better than half the challenges that have come his way. A couple of free kicks as well. He'll be hugely disappointed with that gilt-edged chance he missed. Fell to his sweet left foot, and it couldn't deliver for once. And here's very aware dummy to put Timmy Cahill in front of goal after Luke Wiltshire had done brilliantly.
Has the game lived up to its billing, Andy?
No, it's been a very cautious game, Simon. It's these two teams, obviously, with huge respect for each other, and you can understand why. There hasn't been the cut and thrust that some might have expected. Cavalleri's warming up in the dugout, which can only mean injury news for Australia, I'd suggest. maybe it's Jason Kalina who is on halfway. Position unfamiliar for him. Brett Emerton is in the centre of midfield at the moment. I'd suggest Jason Kalina's not long for this football match.
Obviously, Holger Osik trying to get his charges through until half-time, which arrives now with South Korea leading by a goal to nil. Koo Ja-chol after 24 minutes. Australia have had some good chances, particularly Harry Kewell and Tim Cahill. But at the interval, the Socceroos trail in the big match in Group C. It's Australia 0, South Korea 1 at the interval in Doha. Well, Andy, as you say, perhaps a bit of a slow burner this one.
Yeah, definitely. Look, the Korea Republic have come into this game worried about where Australia can hurt them, and they've built their game from that base. Harry Kewell, Tim Cahill, two of the headline acts in Australian football, are very cautious not to allow those two guys to assert any sort of
Well, welcome back to Al Gharafa, where South Korea are leading by a goal to nil at the interval. Both teams, of course, eager to finish top of Group C to potentially avoid Iran in the quarterfinals. There's the goal scorer, Koo Ja-chol. South Korea particularly anxious to avoid Iran. They've met Team Melli in the last 8 of the last 4 Asian Cup competitions. Now change for Australia at the interval. Jason Kalina is off, and Carl Valeri is on in his stead. And we can only presume, Andy Harper, that that's due to an injury.
There's no doubt it was an injury. I was watching Jason towards the closure of that first half. And he's not often injured, Jason Kalina, and often plays with injury and niggle, so this must be reasonably serious.
So South Korea leading by a goal to nil, get us back underway, and immediately Carl Valeri is into the action with a foul.
Just wanted to introduce himself to the football match. He's waited about 5 seconds.
How'd you do? South Korea have the advantage, but Andy, Australia certainly created a few chances in that first half. Harry Kewell with one in particular, and they had a good shout for a penalty turned down as well.
Yeah, look, I think on balance it was a very solid half from Australia. Some excellent movement, some excellent passages, and some brilliant chances, which fell to our favoured sons, the favoured sons of Australia.
This was Koo Ja-chol, the goal scorer, looking for a second.
Neither Cahill nor Kewell could capitalise. Apart from moments of sloppiness in possession, 1 or 2 times with cheap turnovers which put the team under pressure, it was otherwise a very solid half against a hugely accomplished football team. South Korea have got a couple of issues in defence themselves. They're finding Harry Kewell very difficult. That's an easy one for Mark Schwarzer. But they look good, the South Korean team, when they get into the final third, when they've got players in close proximity to the ball carrier. Their short game's good. And indeed, as they showed with the goal they scored, they can do it from range as well.
Brett Emerton in possession for the Socceroos. Jedinak now without his starting midfield central partner, Jason Kalina. Not a great ball from Jedinak.
No, he finished the half well, started it poorly. A couple of wayward passes, and he's gone back to the start of the game rather than the way he finished the first half. And it's a huge loss, Jason Kalina. More responsibility on Mile Jedinak's shoulders now.
Ognanovsky and Koo Ja-chol just involved in a little off-the-ball incident there. The referee did see it. I'm sure he'll be keeping an eye on those two. He's had a couple of running battles, hasn't he, Sasha Ognanovsky? Probably knows a fair few of these Korean players from his time in the K-League. He won't know Park Ji-sung, though, who plays in the Premier League. He's bundled over by Yedinak. And that's a free kick right on the edge of the box for South Korea.
Clever play from the Manchester United man and the captain of South Korea. Just worked his way goal side of Yedinak, who was struggling from that point on. The ball was getting deep into Australia's danger zone.
Clumsy challenge from Yedinak.
Better to be clumsy outside the box and in. I'm sure that was the final thought for Mila Yedinak, who was feeling stretched.
So Ki Sung-young with a chance to test Mark Schwarzer, perhaps. He tried to curl it around. Never looked likely to get enough dip.
It's going to be a special free kick to score from there. Very, very tight angle. Not even close.
4 goals in 32 internationals for Ki Sung-young. Oh, and Yedinak has fallen rather awkwardly there. The aerial battle with Lee Jung-soo.
I think the foul was against Harry Kuehl for that little shove. And that pushed defender into midfielder for Australia. And hence the cartwheel from Mila Yedinak. Just rattled the rib cage just a little bit.
Holman, one of Australia's more impressive performance in that first half. And here he is, fed by Harry Kuehl. Emerton is wide right. He is the option. Girls it in looking for Cahill. Partly cleared only as far as Carl Valeri. Took a bit too long to bring it down. Set himself. Emerton. He's jigged his way clear of one defender. Oh, almost. Pyo just managing to recover his ground. And now the counter-attack is on for South Korea. Ji Dong-won on the ball.
That's excellent coverage from Mila Yedinak. It was a good charge from Ji Dong-won as well. Now Lucas Neal read that situation adeptly initially, but lost control of the ball. And there will be a claim that might have been handball, but there's no way the ref could give handball for that. Rightly waved play on.
Australia playing their way out of defence superbly. Holman on the charge. He's just held up the challenge, an illegal one as it turns out, by Lee Chung-yong.
Well, stellar work again from Brett Holman. The Australian mentality in this game is not to panic. They played the ball out of defence beautifully. But it's the cheap turnovers like that which are hurting their cause more than anything.
Bit of a shank off the boot of Ognanovsky, but no harm done. Australia go long. One in the air by Hwang Jae-won. Now Park Ji-sung gets the motors running. Away from Ognanovsky now. Ognanovsky is in the book already. Does he go to his top pocket again? Abdurrahman Mohammed, or is he being given a final warning?
Well, the referee's shown restraint. The Korean players are disagreeing. And they got a case. This is careless from Ognanovsky. And he was caught in that half mind. Do I go or do I stay? In the end he went, but not with full commitment, and was late.
Well, he stays on the park, Sasha Ognanovsky, but he's surely on his final warning. Corner for South Korea. Chol to deliver. Tim Cahill using his aerial prowess to good effect in a defensive sense this time. Back he comes in and flashes over the top of Schwartz's goal off the head of Lee Jong-soo. There's a bit of a threat from set pieces. The big centre-back.
Well, two nice balls. Chol. Cahill dealt with the first one. The second was just that bit closer to the near post. Lee Jong-soo managed to get in the front position. Couldn't control the angled header. Oh, Australia breathe easy.
Holding by Kuehl. Australia, of course, face Bahrain on match day 3 in Group C. So we watch again the attempt by Lee Jong-soo and the subsequent infringement by Harry Kuehl. Now Ogmanovsky desperately trying to stay on the ball, and down went Chol right on the edge of the box. No free kick given. He stays lying on the deck. Play continues. The Koreans want the ball kicked out and play stopped.
Interesting, because they were the team that kept the ball in the first place. Referee now just checking that Chol is okay. Ogmanovsky beaten in the first instance. There can be no hint whatsoever that Carl Valeri fouled Chol.
He's been impressive, hasn't he, in that role in behind the striker. Chol, not just the goal. Maybe just caught slightly by Carl Valeri. Awkward for the referee. Cho Kwang-rae, 80 caps for South Korea as a player. Says he wants to reinvent the national team's style of play. He wants to make them more like Spain. I think there's a few coaches who'd like to play like Spain, in fairness.
Easier said than done. Wayward pass from defence to midfield from Lucas Neal. That's a good steal from David Carney. A counter-attack on for Australia.
Holman herring down the left. Kuehl central, touch for Cahill. Emerton wide right, it's too far. Emerton, pity for Australia.
They're shaping up really nicely. It's been an aspect of their game which has been very impressive on the occasion when individual defenders have read a situation and pinched possession.
Well, they pinched possession again here, Australia. Headed clear by Lee Jong-soo.
We've seen Luke Wilshere do it once or twice. Brett Holman do it a couple of times. That time David Carney. Some excellent work.
Good clearance by Lee Yong-kyo. Very big done by Chol, who'd grown in stature this Asian Cup. Well,
again, the way the South Korean players play out of trouble, Australia was putting real heat on them then. Brett Holman, Timmy Cahill.
But they move the ball so quickly in tight areas. This is Charduri. Throwing his way forward. He's such a powerful athlete, isn't he, Charduri?
He's been pretty well contained today, however, and that was another good example. Australia's much talked about left side defence, Jedinak linking with Carney. Carney standing his ground as he's entitled to do.
Now Kuehl has got a metre on the defender. Can he pick out Tim Cahill in the middle? Takes a deflection. That's a good stop by the goalkeeper.
It's a tough situation for anything more to come from that for Australia. It was another one of those promising situations that promises more than really is able to be delivered. Harry Kuehl, a very narrow angle. Just Tim Cahill supporting.
Now on the charge is Lee Chung-yong. 5 shots on target for Australia, 10 for the Korean Republic. This is Lee Yong-rae. Park Ji-sung is wide left. the Korean captain. That'll be a corner.
You just look at the massive red shirts blocking the route to goal. For so long it was just Tim Cahill in support of Kuehl. Completely understandably, Harry Kuehl would take the option to goal.
Chol thought about going short for his captain. That'll be the more conventional delivery. Good header one on the far post by Hwang Jae-won. They'll work it back here for Lee Yong-rae. And Ji Dong-won claiming a push from Brett Emerton.
Well, defending those situations very well, Australia. Brett Emerton just in exactly the right position for the ball that was swinging in towards the goal.
Not communicating. Valeri. Schwarzer up towards Cahill, but Cahill leaning on his man.
Yeah, Lee Jung-soo got there first. That's the rule of thumb. Timmy Cahill trying to get somewhere there or thereabouts where he can make a play on the ball. Referee again made the correct decision.
It's a good touch by Harry Kuehl, but Tim Cahill just not quite alive to it. Perhaps didn't expect his teammate to get there first. And again, great football by South Korea in very tight spaces. Park Ji-sung drives for goal and beaten clear by Mark Schwarzer at the near post. The ball still in play here. Lee Chung-yong back for Lee Young-pyo. Teasing cross, Carney meets it. As we pass the hour mark here at Al Gharafa Stadium in Doha. Carney. Emerton, who's swapped over to the left flank just for the moment. See if that becomes a permanent arrangement. Has found it difficult at times to find space. Brett Holman has taken Emerton's old position. Might cannon off here for Harry Kuehl. Kuehl goes for goal. And the deflection goes behind. Australian corner.
Well, there are moments. There are continuing moments for Australia doing well. Park Ji-sung forcing some regulation work out of Mark Schwarzer, who was very comfortable. But again, it was that intricate pattern of play under real pressure, and then South Korea releasing Park Ji-sung for the shot.
Wilkshire's corner. Cahill leaps, drops here for Lucas Neal. The goalkeeper's not been there, and Australia have scored. Mile Jedinak, his first international goal, and we're all square at Al Gharafa.
And what a brilliant time for Australia to equalise. Mile Jedinak's first half started slowly, finished strongly. His second half has started slowly and has developed some real momentum. This is a key goal. What a way to break your international goal-scoring duck. South Korea not dealing with the contest. Firstly, Timmy Cahill causing trouble. Then Lucas Neal just very intelligently touching the ball into the traffic, turning it into a lottery. The lottery from which the goalkeeper should be backed because he has a huge advantage, standing at well over 6 feet and able to use his fists, but not good enough to get the better of Mile Jelinek, and Australia draw level.
And for the first time inside this stadium, we're hearing the voices of the Australian supporters. The Koreans rocked by that goal, trying to hit back straight away through Park Ji-sung.
Well, this game is poised where it should be, Simon. I think both teams could lay claim to having some very promising moments. Australia's counter-attack play, I think, has been better than South Korea's. And South Korea's play in tight areas to fashion the odd chance has been better than Australia's. And the ledger is level accordingly.
Well, what a finale we're going to have to this game now. It's living up to its billing. Park Ji-sung going on a mazy dribble. Might drop here for Ji Dong-won, who flashes it wide at the post.
Well, as the game enters its clutch moments, it's the big game players who start to rise. And Park Ji-sung, arguably the biggest in the tournament. And he looks to dance around the edge of the penalty area, linking with the youngster. Ji Dong-won, he should have hit the target. The hot spot showing all his work, as one would expect, as the point man in the attack, a 4-1 formation, basically, around the D of Australia's penalty area.
Now one by Carvalari, who tries for goal. It's blocked by Charduri. Holman thought about the shot perhaps for a second. Forced a little wide. Jung Sung-ryong able to concede the throw-in, which is preferable to the corner. Australia anxious to get on with it.
Well, that was a brilliant piece of goalkeeping. We often marvel at goalkeepers when they pull off the spectacular save or the reflex block. But for Jung Sung-ryong to have saved that corner with his feet so emphatically, so desperately, was an outstanding piece of work.
Maybe just caught a glimpse there of a slight tactical tweak by Holger Osik. Brett Holman holding 3 fingers up, which may suggest something as Schwarzer comes out to claim.
Well, the only adjustment at the moment is for Brett Holman to come back onto the left, Emerson back onto the right. That was a temporary move.
Flicked on by Kuehl, Kale's offside.
I reckon Luke Wilshere's in trouble too, Simon. At right fullback for Australia, injury-wise. He's signalling to the bench that he's probably going to be okay. This is clear offside from Timmy Kale. Good work again from Harry Kuehl. He's at better than even money at the moment, Kuehl, in those aerial duels. It's been a superb performance in that facet of the game.
Chol suggesting that Ognanovsky put the arm across him, which prevented his continuing the run. And the second change of the game is going to be made by the South Koreans. And it's the goal scorer.
That was his last contribution after scoring South Korea's goal, was to wear a forearm of Sach Ognanovsky. Australia will be happy to see the back of Chol. Ognanovsky in particular talking during the week as how the Jeju United youngster has quote-unquote been ripping up the K-League this season. It's Luke Wiltshire down now getting attention.
And confirmation it is a double change for South Korea as Luke Wiltshire gets some attention.
He's in some measure of distress too.
So the new men, Yu Byung-soo, striker from Incheon United. He'll take the points, or take the place, I should say, of Ji Dong-won at the point of attack. 22 goals last season for his club side. And Yong Ki-hun, who's on in the stead of Koo Ja-chol.
Wilshere looks like he's got a groin or a stomach problem. Either way, it's Jade North who's warming up on the sideline for Australia.
So Australia just down to 10 for the moment. Wilshere back up on his feet, but not yet back up and playing.
No, that's going to be a substitution. They've just indicated to the bench that Wilshere will take no further part. So an Incheon player comes on for Korea and a former Incheon player in Jade North comes on for Australia.
Tight offside call that was as well. So Jade North will come on for his 33rd cap. Les Gallis, the Australian physio, just making it quite clear that Luke Wilshere was in no fit state to continue. Well, he's played plenty of times there before at right fullback, but it is surely a concern with the Bahrain game still to come, and hopefully for Australia a few more besides that both Kalina and Wilshere have succumbed to injuries.
Two key players, and it's the nature of the injuries apparently, Simon, which is the concern.
Substitutes. Yu Byung-soo trying to battle his way through. David Carney belts it up over halfway. Chested down by Cahill. Holman. Didn't look.
First error for the evening. It's the type of error that's hurt Australia. No one a complete repeat offender.
Clear shove by Holman. And the Korean captain.
There's little doubt about that. That's not a good sign for Australia. Two of their very reliable, regular players, almost 100% dependable, Kalina and Wilshere, both leaving the field.
Now Chowdhury in behind the Australian defence. Lucas Neal is there to clear the danger.
That was a fantastic situation for South Korea. Brett Holman, I think, lost Chowdhury. He did. David Carney had tucked in as he needed to patrol the centre.
Yong Ki-hun. Cannons back off the legs of Jedinak. Bit of a miscue from Hwang Jae-won, and Australia can break in the shape of Holman. It was probably the right idea, that, from Holman. And Harry Kewell very nearly made something of it. In fact, he's claiming the ball was still in play.
He chased it down. He wasn't going to let it just go out of its own volition. Trying to force the issue, Harry Kewell. Impossible to tell from that angle. You have to back the assistant referee that he got it right. The whole of the ball has to be over the line. Remember.
It's great to see Harry Kewell looking so fit and having such energy. He's been a real thorn in the side for the Koreans. They've marked him as tightly as they possibly can.
Well, it's terrific for the tournament to have the big names playing well. Park Ji-sung's playing well. Tim Cahill scored 2 in the first game, I agree. Harry Kewell is looking fresh and mobile.
It's a really absorbing game of football. Just a shade under 20 minutes to go. Slightly subdued atmosphere around the stadium. As Cahill forages for the ball.
Tremendous work again from Brett Holman. Super game. Really asked plenty of questions.
Valeri back for Carney. He'll curl it in, left-footed. Jade North tried to anticipate. Now has to scamper back to mark Park Ji-sung. No easy task. Help arriving from Lee Young-pyo. Creates the angle for the cross, and Schwarzer says, I'll have that.
completely untroubled there, Mark Schwarzer. It had potential about it again, this attack from South Korea. It's a fascinating football match.
Jade North. Oh, that's an error from the substitutes. Australia trying to scamper back. Park Ji-sung still on the ball, still he goes. Goal kick in the end, but those can be costly mistakes.
Well, indeed, Australia looking at their most vulnerable according to their own mistakes. And South Korea, as we know, are more than capable of making their own chances. It's not as if they need assistance from their opposing team. Park Ji-sung just ran out of space there. The Australian defence did regather in numbers, sufficient numbers at least, but a wake-up call for Jade North. The ball keeps finding its way to Australia's new right fullback.
Neil goes the direct route. It might break for Australia. Here's Brett Holman. Oh, he's been flagged offside. Well, just the sheer presence of Tim Cahill was enough to cause panic in the Korean defence.
Well, I think this was a super ball from Lucas Neil. You know what Australia have found out, either before the game or certainly as the game's unfolded, that's offside, good call, assistant referee, is that for all the strength of the South Korean team, I don't reckon their centre defence is at the apex of that strength, if I can put it that way. Now, I know they're missing probably their first choice central defender, Kwak, who was sent off in the first game, but nevertheless.
That's a super ball from Harry Kewell. Carney, he's not strong enough to get by Cha Du-ri.
It's a good run from Carney, good link play with Harry Kewell. Cha Du-ri just too much running power on that occasion.
Valeri loses the 50-50. Holman can't help him out. Prodded forward by Park Ji-sung, but Lee Chung-yong was offside.
The ball just wouldn't sit for David Carney. He'd made a terrific run after being released by Harry Kewell, but the power of Cha Du-ri, along with the awkward bounce for Carney, that's a tight one. There's a good case for that to be play on.
Quarter of an hour to go in Doha. Australia 1, the Korean Republic 1. Here comes South Korea trying to mount a case through the muscular Cha Du-ri, son of Korean legend Cha Bung-kun. The first Korean really to make an impression overseas, as he did so splendidly in Germany. And here is his son getting to the byline. And there's a free man here. Here is Lee Yong-rae, partly cleared by Ognanovsky. Park Ji-sung, again menacing. Now using Lee Young-pyo. Lucas Neil, solid again, as he's been for most of this game. Very cool and assured.
Yeah, it's been a very, very good performance from both teams. A lot of good performances. The game is going to swing on an error. At this point, you'd reckon. They've had 75, 76 minutes to work each other out. Australia trying to keep possession and then looking to pinpoint the centre of South Korea's defence. South Korea, for their part, looking to work the ball into wide areas and then get close, draw Australia into numbers, releasing space on other parts of the field, and then exploit that. The 75 minutes of working each other out has resulted in a very fascinating stalemate, which I reckon is going to be broken by an error, one way or the other.
Well, there's perhaps an error by the Korean defence. Over physical challenge on Tim Cahill. Official crowd's just been announced, by the way, 15,500.
There's a lot of anticipation about this game, just walking around Doha the last few days. And people without a vested interest No, just what a seismic impact this contest can have on the tournament.
Now, you'd fancy that Brett Emerton might want to hit this one. Saw him score a free kick against Denmark 3 or 4 years ago from virtually exactly this position. Unless it's Jedinak who drives it through the wall, but wide.
We know Mile Jedinak has got a cannon in his right foot from distance. He just couldn't direct it. Wall did its job. It was properly aligned. Even just slightly off from Jedinak, and it was going to go harmlessly wide from the Korean Republic's viewpoint.
Well, Holger Osik said, Andy, that even though they'd be trying to win the game, a point wouldn't be a bad result. We're heading towards that, and of course it will in all likelihood go down to goal difference as to who would finish top of the section. You'd fancy that South Korea would beat India, presuming Australia do their job against Bahrain. Kewell wins it for Australia. Cahill. Square for Valeri. Carl Valeri, but again Charduri got enough of his body in the way. It'll be an Australian corner.
Well, no one's done this better than Charduri this evening. Look at the way he's chased down Australians just as they're about to pull the trigger. Got Timmy Cale once in the first half. Another two or three occasions in general play where he's broken up the attack, and Carl Valeri just as he was about to test the keeper. Charduri slides in, saves his team, concedes the corner.
Emerton to deliver. Cahill leaps. Referees spotted an infringement.
There's a head clash too between Sashok Nanovsky and I think it's Kwang, number 3. Kwang Jae-won.
No, I think it was actually between teammates, Nanovsky and Cahill.
I'm not quite sure why Kwang was down getting attention, but he certainly was feeling a bit dusty after that exchange. And you're right, it was Cahill on Nanovsky. Teammate on teammate.
He's a tough fellow, Sasha Ognanovsky. Stuck pretty rigidly to that central position.
Fascinating for the international audience, Simon, to know of Sasha Ognanovsky at 31 years of age. Up until 4 years ago, he was working on the building sites in Melbourne. And here he is, 2011, the Asian Player of the Year, and captain of the club that won the Asian Champions League. Fantastic story.
Playing at an Asian Cup. Very nearly, of course, played for Macedonia. Loss perhaps is Australia's game. This is Harry Kewell trying to tease his way past Charduri. Keeps Young there for company as well.
Well, there's another example of how Harry Kewell's been targeted tonight, not in a legal sense, but the moment he's on the ball and settled, Korean players swarm, and Charduri physically had the better of Kewell as well as positionally. There's always another 1 or 2 willing teammates in red when Kewell's in possession. They know he's the danger man. Should have scored in the first half.
Mexican wave going around Al Gharafa Stadium. Needs a new name, really. Doha dance or something like that. Emerton flagged. Well, Australia's most consistent performers and longest servants as well. 80th cap tonight for Brett Emerton. The 4th most capped Socceroo of all time. Park Ji-sung winning his 97th cap tonight. This, of course, his last hurrah at this Asian Cup. Wants to go out a winner. Jade North with the block tackle. Kuehl chests it down. Waits for help.
Superb work.
Fouled.
Superb work again from Harry Kuehl. Jade North looking and finding Australia's number 10. And it's the best that Lee Jung-soo can do is to foul Kuehl in the centre circle. They really haven't known how to handle Australia's number 10.
Yep, he's been very impressive. Just had that one clear-cut chance, didn't he, in the first half that he dragged wide. Neil's free kick. Jedinak leaps and wins the header. Back with the Gençlerbirliği player. Across by Valeri. Now Korea will push forwards through Cha Du-ri. Don't forget the ball though, Cha.
Look how strong he is though. I thought he got away with a high boot there, that last defensive play. And now South Korea swing into attack.
Through Yoo Byung-soo. Park Ji-sung.
Well defended Ognenovski. Australia on the slingshot.
Now the break on, 2 against 2 for a minute. Kuehl, has he got the pace to go around? He fires for goal, takes a deflection, and Jung-sung Ryong drops on the ball. But it's starting to open up as we head towards the closing stages. Both teams want to win this game, you'd fancy.
Well, players will start getting tired. There'll be individuals on that field who'll be starting to approach 10 kilometres of running. It's increasingly difficult to swing end to end as a unit. Australia counter-attacking effectively.
Lee Young-pyo, too deep.
Korean Republic will be careful not to open up the field. So too Australia. Park Ji-sung, who's growing into the game, just hovering around about this position.
A little mistake by Carl Valeri. Here's Park Ji-sung. Down he goes. No foul by Ognenovski, says the referee. Neil. Beautiful skills by the Australian skipper. Centre back, remember. Holman. Neil, who'd stayed forward to lend a hand. Now he's going to have to get back, and quickly, because he's given it away. Lee Chung-yong to Lee Yong-rae. Ognenovski sticks out of boot. The play just becoming a little stretched. Back with Lee Chung-yong. Cha Du-ri arriving. Carney blocks. Cha Du-ri for a second time, and Jade North taking no chances.
There's a lot of nervous people on the football field. And the game hangs in these crossing situations. Cha Du-ri measuring his last cross. This is Australia's equaliser. Kale causing trouble. Lucas Neal with the deft little lob. Mile Jedinak breaking his international drought. That's where the goal scoring to date has finished. There's about 5+ injury time left here in Al Gharafa. The game is on a precipice.
And the Korean fans trying to do their bit for their team. In comes the corner. Jedinak wins it. Lee Chung-yong with a little sandwich back into the box. Oh, what a save by Schwarzer from Ki Sung-young. World-class goalkeeping. Still the danger not averted for Australia. Park Ji-sung. And Ognenovski puts it out. But what a stop from Schwarzer. Just pure instinct. They even can barely be split on the possession numbers. Neil intercepts, but then rather tired pass up towards halfway. But Australia have won the free kick. A foul on Harry Kuehl further up.
Well, even when the ball's nowhere near him, he's managing to draw defenders to himself. This is unbelievable from Schwarzer. And I'm going to venture to suggest that in this part of the goalkeeping art, Mark Schwartz is as good as any. How many times have Australian teams and fans watched, turned and looked to see Schwartz pull something out of the hat? Remarkable goalkeeping.
It's going to be a late change for Australia. Matthew Mackay of A-League leaders Brisbane Roar. It's going to be thrown on, but not quite yet. Here's Valeri. Well, we've seen Millie Jedinak break his international duck tonight. Perhaps asking for Valeri to do so as well was asking a little too much.
He's shaped up a couple of times, hasn't he, Carl Valeri? He's had a very good half since he's come on.
Got into good positions, actually. Is there to be a winner in this crucial Group C encounter? Or will the two pre-tournament favourites, along with Japan, end up all square? Holman waiting for Carney to arrive. Wasn't the greatest pass in all truth.
Well read from Charduri. Here's the change now. Matt Mackay on.
Brett Holman, the man to make way. And he's had a good night tonight, Brett Holman.
Yeah, he's had a terrific game. A really, really terrific game. And this is a big moment for Matt Mackay. Born and raised in Brisbane. He's the captain of Brisbane's football club. He'll be hurting about what's going on in his home city with the devastating floods, his family and friends. He'll know plenty of people who are suffering. Special moment for Matt Mackay.
Kuhl turns it into the danger zone, chested down by Cahill, and Edmonton couldn't get over the top of the shots. Knows a bit about the Koreans too. Matt Mackay had a very short stint with Incheon United some years ago in the K-League. Another change for the Koreans, and well, I can only presume that Yoon Byung-soo has picked up an injury because he was a substitute himself for Ji Dong-won. So one of the up-and-coming stars of South Korean football, Yoon Bit-garam, will play for the final few minutes. 20-year-old youngster from Jeonnam, voted Rookie of the Year in Korea last season. We're almost into injury time at the end of a fascinating night in Doha. Three minutes of additional time. This is Yong Ki-hun. The industrial whack towards the Australian box, and David Carney's taken a whack.
Bit of discomfort too, David Carney. It's been a mighty performance from Australia's left fullback. Got a dislocated shoulder or something he's popped here by the looks of things.
He's had that injury before, David Carney.
There, yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, what a terrible blow.
Oh dear.
He's in agony. He has had shoulder surgery. He's had a terrific game tonight, David Carney.
Dear oh dear.
That's terrible.
He had surgery on that shoulder a couple of years ago, and it is turning into a very bad night for Australia in terms of injuries.
Heavy toll, heavy toll. You have to feel for a bloke. Recurring injuries are frustrating and painful enough, but when they're just putting the shoulder in now, oh dear.
Oh dear. It's hard to watch that.
You got to feel for a bloke. He's had a tremendous game tonight. These are amazing pictures from the camera that's hovering on top of the ground. And it's just so innocuous too.
Well, you could tell even before he hit the deck, he knew that the shoulder had popped out again. Australia have used their three substitutes. I'm not sure Carney is going to be able to continue.
Well, he can do the Franz Beckenbauer.
Play with the sling on.
I'd recommend that for a second. However, Franz Beckenbauer's assistant at the 1990 World Cup is Australia's coach Holger Osik. Maybe he'll be expecting some It's devastating for Carney. Problematic for Australia.
Well, there's no real cover on that left side, is there? That's the issue.
Not. That's a worry for another day. They've worked themselves into a position to have a share of the points here. Now they're going to have to finish the game a man down unless Carney can overcome the odds. You wouldn't put it past him. Well, he's not waving the white flag, David Carney. I can let people know, whilst the camera focuses on the football match as it should. Carney's preparing for a re-entry. This is brave play.
Well, there's only a couple of minutes to go as the arguments continue. Well, he's going to try and tough it out, David Carney.
Well, you can only admire someone. He must be in enormous pain.
Well, running and kicking the ball shouldn't be a problem, but any sort of physical challenge is going to be absolute agony. Tim Cahill, by the way, has picked up a yellow card for Australia. And here's Matt Mackay.
I mean, you just wonder if in the closing stages, Simon, it's not worth Brett Emerton moving to left fullback or Jade North moving to left fullback.
I agree.
Keeping David Carney on the field for numeric reasons, but put him up forward.
I agree.
Let him do a job if he feels he's up to it, but don't put him in the danger zone.
Especially with a guy as powerful as Chardou bombing down your flank.
Well, he's got a busted wing. It's amazing that he's continuing for his team and without sounding jingoistic for his country as well. It's a brave performance, but Korea rightly are going to hit diagonal balls to left fullback. Anyone would do exactly the same thing.
Well, we've played 4 minutes of injury time. There's a slight hold-up, of course, for Carney's injury. This may well be the last opportunity as Chardou swings it in. Jade North diverts it away from danger. Emerton up towards halfway. Play on, says the referee. Park Ji-sung, the dying embers here at Al Gharafa. And that's going to be a goal kick.
A relieving goal kick too. Australia know they're stretched. They know they've got one of their really good performers tonight, isolated and wounded at left fullback. It's a matter of watching the clock tick down now if you're a green and gold fan. And the Korean Republic will sense this dying opportunity to force the issue for 3 points.
Well, it's all over. It ends all square. Goals from Kuja Chol in the first half for South Korea. And then Miller Jedinak with his first at international level just after the hour mark. Means that the two favourites in this group will share the spoils, but a more concern for Australia will be the 3 injuries they've picked up to Messrs Collina, Wilkshire and of course Carney. A fascinating game though at Al Gharafa, but it's finished in deadlock. Australia 1, South Korea 1. Well, handshakes but only half smiles from Holger Osik. He will be pleased with the way his team performed. Cho Kwang-rae too. They were grateful towards the end to Mark Schwarzer for a fantastic one-arm stop. But he will be worried, concerned about those who had to leave the field injured. Andy Harper.
Well, they're 3 big names. They've been 3 regular contributors to Australia over the last World Cup cycle, and indeed the last World Cup. And you talk about the 2006 World Cup with Collina and Wilkshire. So 3 guys have been integral to what the team's achieved. Collina, Holman and David Carney all must now have serious question marks over their availability for the Bahrain game. And South Korea now set their sights on India. They'll be looking to rack up a number of goals there to win the 3 points and indeed edge Australia on goal difference for top position in the group. And Australia with a more tricky assignment, a very tricky assignment in Bahrain. Australia haven't had it easy against Bahrain in their experience since moving into the Asian Football Confederation.
However, a draw should be enough against the Bahrainis, which is exactly what they got tonight. It was always likely to be a very tight contest. And despite the Koreans having a numerical advantage in the stands, they were unable to force the issue, even though they had arguably the tournament's top player on their team tonight, Park Ji-sung, who was one of the standout performers for the Koreans.
I can't argue with his selection as man of the match. I thought for Korea, Ji Dong-won played well, set up the goal for Koo Cha-chol, who again continues to impress. And Australia had plenty of good players as well.